Good? Okay. All right, evening. Got 7:03. We'll start this evening's school board meeting for January 11th, 2021. Call to order's been done. Roll call's been done. If we stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge of Allegiance.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, first item on the agenda is the consent agenda. First item is approval of previous minutes, as you can see in the packet, from December 14th, 2020 at 6 p.m. and December 14th at 2020, 7 p.m. Anybody anything to remove from the minutes? All right, treasurer's report.
With no questions on the bills, but we do review the balances from this month compared to last year at this time. And you can see we're down almost $1 million overall, but a lot of that is because we finished paying off again the limestone renovation, and that will be, hopefully that will stay the same discrepancy or difference each month through the remainder of the year. We are down in our O&M fund and obviously our capital projects funds, because that's the two funds that we use to pay off the limestone renovation, which we have about $150,000 to $200,000 more to pay off, and then that should be totally completed, and we'll move on. Other than that, our funds look as predicted. A little bit up in the ed fund and a little bit up in the transportation and IMRF funds, but down in a couple of the other funds to make us down overall about $1 million, which has been kind of where we've been the last 3 or 4 months, and anticipate that will be the same report here through the rest of the year.
All right, thanks. Any questions on bills? How about approval of bills, salaries, investment summary, anything additional?
Nope, no questions on that this month.
All right. Maternity leave, or I'm sorry, monthly resolution for closed session verbatim recordings greater than 18 months. That's also in your packet. And then approval for leave requests? None. Okay, anybody need anything removed from the consent agenda or changed? If not, you need a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, Laura?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, public comment period. Anything for public comment? All right, superintendent's report.
We did get some donations and grants that was left in front of you for bikes at Bonfield Grade School. There's a whole list of folks. I don't know if you are Salina Fire Protection, Village of Bonfield, Bonfield Lions Club, Bonfield Garden Club, Limestone Fire Protection, the Reddick Community Auxiliary, Herscher Lions Club, Village of Herscher, Herscher Police Department, Herscher Fire Department, Herscher American Legion, Village of Campus, Campus State Bank, Campus Community Club, the HCUSD, 2 board members, U2CT, union members, BGF staff members, WEPPRIC Drainage, Alling Handman Service, Estes Tree Care bought 2 bikes, All Power and Equipment, Diamond Brothers bought 2 bikes, 2 Rivers Credit Union, Gary Wright Construction, Scanlon Construction, Custom Renovations, and Roland and Liz Bauer all sponsored bikes for our kindergartners who, I got to see this, several times. They it's an exciting time to win a bike. So these are pretty cool. So we thank all those folks for donating.
Yep, thank you very much for that. All right, district good news. We got one from Bonfield. That's it, I believe, right? Only school. Yep. All right. All you other schools. No good news?
Same page.
Nice job, Alan.
Turn the page in that book a little sooner.
All right, next report regarding KCC. We had that last month, right?
Yeah.
FOIA, we do have one FOIA, correct?
Yep, we received one FOIA from Kaza Ron, local labs. They requested data on district elected boards and officials, specifically their name, term start date and end date, their salary and email address, which I thought was kind of funny. Their salary, that was easy. So anyway, so we did respond to that.
All right. No overnight trips to date. Procurement committee update?
I think we only had one, came through with
Yeah, for
computer
the
software or whatever.
yeah Sentinel program for securing wireless connections and the cloud software development. So, all right. Anything for superintendent?
Nope.
All right, new business. First one on the item is presentation. Mr. Wills on our bond.
Good evening, my name is Kevin Wills, and I am here representing a firm known as Bernardi Securities. We are a municipal bond outfit, and I'm here to talk to you tonight about an opportunity to potentially refinance, or at least consider refinancing the district's outstanding bonds. What I've got here is a presentation to walk through. Now, there's a lot of information here to unpack. I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time. I'm going to summarize certain parts of it and then spend more time drilling down into the nuts and bolts of the opportunity that is at hand here to potentially save some money. So bear with me. I'm going to summarize some sections. As we go through this, if you have questions, let me know. Some of you may remember I have done some work with the district in the past, albeit with a different firm. Moved companies about 2 years ago, and after having successfully navigated a 2-year agreement where I would not solicit or compete, I'm finally out of that, and lo and behold, there's an opportunity to potentially consider saving some money. So Dr. Deckman kindly invited me to present the information to you tonight. So again, as we go through this, if you have questions, let me know. I'm not going to give a whole lot of background about who I am. Some of you probably remember some of the work I've done here in the past, but I've been doing this for almost 13 or 14 years, working with units of government throughout the state, particularly school districts, on the bond issue process. So as we go through this presentation, pages 2 through 4 really summarize our firm. Bernardi Securities is a municipal bond outfit. We've got 3 office locations in the state, headquartered in Chicago, office in Peru, and an office in O'Fallon. I happen to float between the O'Fallon and the Peru office. I actually work from home. I live in Bloomington, so really just down the road. And Bernardi's been in business since the mid-1980s and has specialized in the bond issue process during that time. We're a full-service outfit, about 25 to 30 employees, numerous departments within the firm. Bottom line is, we help units of government in the public finance department, which is where I'm at. We help units of government through the bond issue process. We are not a fly-by-night operation. We've been doing this for a long time. If you look at page 5, it shows some rolling numbers for rankings over the last 5 years in terms of bond issues underwritten in the state of Illinois. This isn't just by firms that are located in the state of Illinois. This is for firms across the country that do business in the state of Illinois. And you can see there over the last handful of years, in terms of aggregate rankings, in terms of bond issues that our firm has underwritten in the state, we're towards the top of the list there, at the top. And this is fresh off the list there, coming off of 2020. My point to that is, again, we're in the market all the time. We're in the market week in, week out. We know where things should be as it relates to a bond issue and the pricing, or in terms of layman's terms, the interest rate that we expect an issuer to get. This shows that we've been pretty busy over the last handful of years. We would expect much the same throughout the course of 2021 as well. Page 6 outlines our services. As mentioned a couple times, full service start to finish. We're going to help you explore various options, help with the proper paperwork, legal documents, filings, and all those types of things that go into a bond issue. But one of the most important roles that we do when structuring a bond issue is marketing it. Okay, what does that mean? That means selling it to our investors, trying to get you, the district, the issuer, the lowest possible borrowing cost that we can to generate the maximum interest savings that we can. And if you're borrowing for new money, again, try to drive that cost down by selling those bonds to our broad network of investors, which can be individuals, mom and pops, but also local institutions. So historically in the past, it was always important for us to at least offer the bonds to local institutions that have a presence within the district. We would expect no different this time around. So if it makes sense to look at refinancing, we bring a bond issue to market, some of the first calls we will make will be to local institutions, banking institutions that have a presence within the school district. Page 7, got maybe a little bit ahead of myself there, but page 7 is just some of the after a bond issue service that we provide. We do provide we do assist the district with ongoing federal requirements in terms of disclosing financial information. Every year the district has to disclose its updated financial information to the bond world, and so we assist with that, and we would make sure that you maintain compliance with that requirement moving forward. Don't get too hung up on that, just one of those services that we like to provide after the fact, and would plan to keep you abreast of that every year moving forward so you know what we've done and why we've done it. Page 8 and 9, these are what I call our sales comparisons page, if you will. This is what I was alluding to a few moments ago. We just happen to focus on or look at page 9 as an example. There's a lot of information to dig into here. I'm going to try to keep it at the 10,000 foot level. This is just a comparison to show that we're able to get certain levels of execution for our clients on page 9. A couple of bond issues that were done around the same time in the marketplace, us and a competitor or another firm. Bottom line is the closer that yellow column is to 0, the better execution you end up getting for the client. So again, that's just essentially our sales comparison page. Really the takeaway for page 8 and 9 is when all the dust settles, we want to be able to come in and show you that, hey, we got you something that was fair and reasonable, right? One of the questions that I always get over the years is, man, this 2% interest rate, how does that stack up? Right? Is that fair? Is that reasonable? Where does that stack up to everybody else? Well, that's what those pages show. Pages 8 and 9 essentially show that. So we can show before, during, and after a bond issue, here's what we were able to get it done at. Relative to our competition in the marketplace, here's how that stacks up. And that's why it's an important page. So you can all walk away, including ourselves, and know that, all right, we just got treated fair and reasonable with this bond issue. And so that's the importance behind those pages. Page 10 is a big reason as to why we're here. You can see that the downward trend in the interest rate environment. Now this goes back 40 years. If you were looking at the last year or two, it's the same trend. So the takeaway from this page is that we are in, from a municipal market standpoint, a municipal bond standpoint, we are in all-time lows in terms of the market that we're seeing right now. And that's one of the economic factors that are driving why we're here to look at and study this refinancing opportunity. On page 11, a landscape version of your outstanding debt. Now, as you look at these, one of them just paid off, the one on the far left paid off. I left it on there just because we're still within that fiscal year 2021, but that one's essentially gone. You've already made your final payment on that. So we're looking at those bonds issued in 16 and 18. And the one that we're focusing on tonight is the one on the far right, the one that says Series 2018C. Everybody see that one? The one on the far right, 2018C. Now that one's out there at a rate of 4.29%, and it's got a call feature of 12/1/23, December 1, 2023. When I use the word or phrase call feature, that's just a fancy way of saying in the bond world prepayment. So what that means is we're essentially locked in to that structure or to those interest rates until we get to December 1, 2023. At that time is when we can pay off these bonds that are outstanding. Now hang with me for a few moments on that. I'm going to come back and revisit that concept here in a couple of moments. But again, you have 4.29% on the bonds that are callable. Okay, so what that means is the bonds that are out there that can be refinanced, which would be the payments due in December of 2024 and later. So December 1, 2024 and later. Those are the bond payments that we would be looking to potentially refinance. They've got that call date of 12/1/23. You have the ability to refinance prior to that call date at any time if it makes sense to do so. And what we do is we go through a bond issue and we generate proceeds from the sale of these refinancing bonds, and we take those bonds and we park them into an irrevocable escrow today until that 12/1/23 date gets here. And then when December 1, 2023 gets here, the escrow is released and it pays off those bond payments that are prepayable or callable on the original bond issue. Okay? So, what that means is anytime between now and 2023, if the economics in the marketplace makes sense to generate savings on refinancing, you can do it prior to that. So a new bond issue today, take those proceeds and we put them into an escrow, enough to make this bond issue go away off the books, and then the new bonds kick in. Okay, I'm going to illustrate that on page 12 when we show the savings example. Again, a lot of colors here. It's like my 6-year-old got a hold of it with a crayon and started coloring all these charts and lines and rows and columns. But as we look here, this is a summary of what a potential refinancing opportunity may look like and what it may generate in savings. And I'll explain the reason for all the colors here in a few moments. But the left-hand box is your current amortization. Okay, that's really the starting point. We know that if you do nothing through fiscal year 2032, those are what the district's principal and interest bond levies are each year to retire those bonds that were done in 2018. Again, out there at a net interest cost of 4.29%. The market that we're in today is substantially lower than where it's been historically. And so when you take what new bonds could be done in today's market relative to where the 2018 bonds are at, there is an opportunity to potentially refinance and reduce the district's interest output. That's that blue scenario in the middle. So we reasonably believe that in today's market, of course all subject to change, but in today's market we believe that you could issue new bonds around that 1.75% mark, take those proceeds, and as I mentioned, dump them into an escrow fund to get rid of the old bonds at the higher rate when that call date gets here in a few years down the road, which would generate a savings amount of approximately $610,000. Now that's not every year. That is over the life of it, so about $55,000 per year. That is, in terms of a percentage of the amount that you're refinancing, about 5.5%. That's a benchmark. A lot of folks wonder, okay, well, is that good or bad? IGFOA, which is Illinois Government Finance Officers Association, usually says a good benchmark's about 4%. So you start seeing anything north of 4%, boy, it might make sense to consider. Now I want to show you, I want to illustrate, or I want to point out that you guys see that negative number there, the negative arbitrage number of 360,000 negative. As I mentioned, because these bonds aren't technically callable until December 1 of 2023, it does come at a price to try to lock something in today. And what is that? Well, that's that cost of about $360,000. And what that means is you get those old bonds that are out there until 2023. Now we have to come up with enough money today through a bond issue to fully get rid of, economically, the old bonds. And we dump them into the escrow, and the escrow then makes the payments to the original bondholders until 23, and then they're completely paid off and they go away. But those bond issues, now again, the one that we get rid of, it's essentially legally defeased, which means essentially it's off your books, but it's still technically hanging out there until 23, and we got the new ones in place. So because we're not to that 2023 time frame yet, again, this is where it gets a little bit muddy and a little bit master's level conversation. There's what we call negative arbitrage. That's essentially, kind of a quote unquote cost of doing it today to try to get a bird in the hand worth 2 in that bush. There's that cost of about $360,000. Now that's not we don't take that off of the 609. That's all factored in. So that 609 is net of all of that information, of that negative arbitrage, and then the cost of issuance. But to better illustrate why sometimes it makes sense to wait, if you go to the next column over, all else equal, right? So if we fast forward 1 year, and we're having this conversation, around 2021 or, in January of 2022, we're now that much closer to that 2023 call date, right? And so what happens is that negative arbitrage number goes down. At the same rate, your savings goes up. You guys see that? And then you move over to 22, And 23, it's the same thing. So over time, that negative arbitrage goes down because we're getting closer to that call date. You don't have those bonds outstanding so far away from that 2023 call date. And I want to show, a lot of people don't show what that quote-unquote cost is at negative arbitrage. You guys need to know that. And then you get to the break-even analysis. So what that means is we know where we can get today, and if we wait till December of 2023, rates would have to go up on a new bond issue to about 2.69, 2.7% to break even. Does that make sense? So, what are rates going to be? Where are rates going to be in 3 years? No idea.
You don't know?
I don't know, man. I wish I did. I wish I did. I'd be probably watching the Ohio State-Alabama game from a suite if I knew that kind of information. And so, we never want to overlook the opportunity to save money today, but at the same time, you got to know that, if rates do not change at all between now and 2023, potentially save $1 million in 2023. But everything else has to stay the same in the marketplace. And what I mean by that is interest rates. Guys, what questions do you have? Again, I know there's a lot of information here, and I want to try to keep it as simplistic to digest. What a lot of people do is, since we're not generating any new money, we're not changing the payment structure, all we're doing is issuing new bonds in a lower rate environment, trying to reduce the interest output to the district. In other words, we're not increasing your payments to pay it off sooner. We're not decreasing your footprint, right? We're keeping it within the same payoff date. It's a simple resolution called a parameters resolution. So what a lot of it, so in other words, no public hearing, no petition periods, none of the things that we've had to do in the past for some of the district's financings, because it's just a simple straight refi. What a lot of districts do, so in other words, the only board action, the only legal proceeding that the Board of Education would have to take is just pass a resolution that says, hey, if you can bring us X amount of savings within these certain parameters, get it done. Again, those are just, again, my words. It's a bond resolution that would have parameters set within it. And sometimes those parameters even include a minimum savings number. And whether that's 610 or 800 or 950, we can discuss. I don't know. But you can pass a resolution that says, guys, let's lock something in when you get to at least this savings level or greater. And then it wouldn't require any further board action on your part, but then that allows us to move quickly and swiftly when we can get to that point to execute a bond issue, trying to target whatever it is that savings number is. And again, I don't know if that means it's 600, 700, or whatever, but you do have the ability to do that. So it's very common for people to give direction and pass that resolution, get that legal proceeding and that legal step out of the way, set that minimum threshold, and we can write it out and see what things look like in a month or 6 months or a year and see. And if rates have held relatively stable, which I really think that they're going to, I don't think that we've seen a whole lot that's going to cause it to spike drastically up. Is it going to maybe go up a little blip? Yeah, that's likely to happen. In fact, it has in this last week or two. You guys, I don't know if you guys are aware, there was a runoff in a Senate race in Georgia, and so the minute that those races were called, there was a little blip on the radar. Now, does that mean it's going to continue to trend up? I just don't think so. But then again, we don't have that crystal ball. What questions do you have?
You don't think the state of the country and economic state coming back after what we've all gone through in COVID would be a positive aspect to keep bonds low? And
I do. Yeah, I do. I think they're going to be, at least through 21.
Right.
And that's what a lot of the major economists and economic firms are saying as well, that we just expect things to be somewhat stable. Now, again, there might be a little blip here, a little blip there, but to go from 1.7 to 2.5% in the course of 1 year seems highly unlikely, but not impossible. Right. And that's where essentially you're rolling the dice and somewhat gambling, which is why it's always nice to potentially set and have a resolution that's got that threshold of savings. So as we get closer to that, you can try to lock it in before it evaporates. You might get to a point, and if we keep waiting, and then it can go poof, and it can disappear.
Okay. Anybody,
What's the timeline for refinancing if you were given the go-ahead?
So, 30 days, not 30 days, pretty quick. Again, one board action. So the board has to pass a resolution. So if we were to putting the resolution together is easy. That doesn't take any time at all. That could be ready for, any board meeting that you have coming up. And for example, February. And again, we can set those parameters that say only bring a bond issue back and lock in a refi if it's within these various parameters and you meet a certain savings threshold. So we're essentially waiting 30 days for that board meeting to get here, but we could have it ready to go in about that time frame as well. There is some back office stuff that has to be done. We've got to put together an offering document that we show investors to decide whether or not they want to buy the bonds. We have to have a rating call, things that Dr. Deckman would remember having done in the past. A rating call, due diligence. So there's some steps that need to be taken behind the scenes, but all of that can be done relatively quickly. And then the rest is just standard disclosure language that we include in here to comply with certain federal securities laws.
okay.
Do you have a recommendation for in regards to amount of savings that would be appropriate in districts our size that you have seen before?
No, not necessarily. I don't think it has anything to do with district size.
Swing and a miss.
Because it's just, it's a
Yeah.
function of the amount of bonds outstanding, how far we are away from the call feature, the rates on the bonds relative to the new.
How about this question? What would be a low threshold and what would be a high threshold?
I think the high is at $1 million. I think if we set $1 million, I think we might be waiting for a long time.
Okay.
I think that essentially is, I don't want to say it's the maximum we're going to get, but that is when all that negative arbitrage is gone. That's an awfully high number. Does it mean
Okay.
it is not obtainable? No, it doesn't. But that is an awfully high number. And again, that's assuming that rates do not move at all over the next 3 years, which I don't think is going to happen. I think they're eventually going to go up. I just don't know if that's going to be 6 months, a year, or a year and a half. So I think the $1 million is just, I don't want to be eyes popping out of their head saying, hey, let's step over a suitcase full of $600,000 to hopefully pick up $1 million at some point down the road. I don't want to say that, but I think the $1 million is.
It's kind of like what is that one? You pick the boxes, the suitcases?
Deal or no deal?
Yeah.
Right, yeah, exactly. So, but to your point, Dr. Deckman, so I think that $1 million or $1,050,000, while it looks nice, boy, I think that there's a lot of risk involved in setting a value at that. And we're going to have to wait a while. Rates will have to drop almost zero to be able to acquire that today. And then we have to wait a few years to try to lock that in. And even then, again, as I mentioned,
So
rates gotta stay the
I'm
same.
sorry, does your example in here say, hey, if we were to do this today, right now,
Yep,
what would it be?
that blue,
Okay.
that blue.
It'd be 610,000
Right now.
right
yeah,
now, if we lock it in
Right.
with the savings of going from 4.2% to 1.75.
Right. And again, that's where I think we're at today. And so that's kind of the, that's kind of the window. That's kind of the range. Okay, 610 million. Where do you want to set it in between? And you guys can always adjust it too, right? So I mean, we think we get to a point where, if you, just as an example, you set it at 750 or 800, and we wait a year and a half, and rates have gone up, and we're just not going to get there. We can always revisit it. We can always revisit that. But I think 700. I mean, that's just a good number. We can ride it out a few months, get everything teed up, ready to go, and just keep fingers crossed that nothing happens. And again, if we start seeing, as we fast forward 6 months, if we start seeing rates trending the wrong way, we can revisit that number. But that's just a good 650, 700, just a good round number.
So is a million.
So there's $1 million.
Yeah.
That's exactly right.
Okay. Thank you.
All right.
That's an almost impossible question to answer.
Yeah.
Because you're darned if you do and you're darned if you don't. We set it too high, we never get there. We set it too low, and we wait a year, and we're like, God, we look in the rearview mirror. Oh, we left $100,000 on the table. So that's a tough question to answer.
Okay. Anything additional questions? All right, thank you, Kevin.
No problem.
Thank you.
So we do have an item next to discuss and take any possible actions regarding refinancing the bonds. So if we are is anybody adverse, I guess, to,
Well, I mean,
Pursuing-
there's no negative factor to that, right? I mean, why wouldn't we wanna do it?
well, there's a cost.
Well, yeah, well,
Well,
the
yeah,
negative
but I
factors,
mean-
if we do it today and we get to 2023 and nothing has changed in the marketplace and we could have saved $1 million and we took 600,000 today and we could have saved $1 million, that's it. And then at that
But no
point,
matter what,
You were saving something.
right, exactly.
Yeah.
So at that point, I don't think anybody should really be disgruntled. We made the decision
Right.
with all the relevant facts and circumstances as we know them at the time, and you don't look in the rear view mirror.
Right,
But-
we
but-
know
but that's it.
we know today that if we make a change, we're gonna save ourselves $610,000.
Well, yeah, it's locked in. Well, assuming nothing changes between now
Yeah.
and,
Yeah.
we go to market the bonds in 30 days.
Right, exactly,
Or 45, or whatever, yeah.
right.
So, yeah, I mean, there really is no, this is just me, and, again, I get paid to do bond issues for a living, so don't think I'm just saying this because we want to do a bond issue. But I think there's probably a lot more downside risk than there is in upside, if that makes any sense, in doing something. Because, I mean, you know what you can get today, and you lock it in, and it's a healthy number. I mean, it's a healthy number. I think we run a lot more risk by waiting a few years, seeing those rates go up than the rates stay the same or the rates go down. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, when the economy comes back, bonds are gonna go.
At some point.
At some point, the market's gonna level and the bonds are gonna come back and get us.
it's just a matter of.
Just a matter of
yeah,
time.
Right.
Do we set it at a higher level as far as at the 700 or 720 range or whatever? And try to, what I say, look at 6 months down the road and see where we're at, right?
Yep.
If we say 6 months down the road, we're not at that 7, we're at 640,
Well,
do we
then
pull the trigger?
basically,
We
then
pull
we
the
can
trigger
make
on that then?
Right.
Yeah, is,
Well, would that need another resolution to override the first resolution?
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you would, and that's okay. Again, that's not an issue. We just swap out one
Yeah.
page, change a couple of dates, and that's really not that much of an issue.
Okay.
So you could make a motion to say, hey, we are comfortable at whatever number you want to say, and then Kevin can get back to me the paperwork, and then we would have the resolution for the February meeting.
Right.
That would be the process.
Yep.
So was everybody good? Is everybody good with 725?
Yeah, I guess we just gotta decide, are we good at 610, taking what we know is on the table, or are we willing to try and pull?
I'm
This
fine
is
with-
like playing
I'm fine with
craps.
taking the 610 of what's there. It's already saving us 55,000 a year, but I also like to save more, but Kevin
You wanna
basically
say-
kind of guaranteed right now, in his words, that we can get that. And-
Yeah, you wanna say 7?
Never
But
say
we can-
guarantee.
Look at
Come on, Joe.
But you said that we could change it 6 months down the road and make another resolution if
Well,
we could save more,
If he goes out
correct?
and grabs the 610, that's it.
That's
Yeah,
it.
once
Yeah,
once
once
you
you
grabs
lock
it.
in
once
610.
you lock in
It's truly like
610,
picking a
locked in.
You're locked in.
All right, so where are we at, Jason? 6, 7?
I'd say 7.
Hey,
Don't
I'm
come
fine
complaining
with
to me
7.
when you found out we could have saved 610.
But you're gonna go up now.
Well, we still could save the 600. We can say
No matter
7.
what.
We don't see 7 coming as a possibility. We can say we're good with whatever.
Right.
You can go that way. You can't go the
Yeah.
opposite.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. So yeah, put a resolution together saying, hey, try to target 700. There's nothing
Make a
wrong with
motion
that.
to try
Between now
to
and-
target 700,000 in savings for whatever,
For refinancing.
for refinance. Yeah, I just said that.
All right,
I
so
make
we
a-
need a motion. We need a motion.
He kind of did.
Yeah,
To-
made a motion to save 700,000 in refinancing.
The bonds
Bonds.
with
Bernardi.
Bernardi Securities.
Bernardi Securities, yes.
All right.
Second.
Open it up for any more discussion.
You want 8.
Can you put a parameter on that or a limit within a year, or do you need a time frame?
No, the parameter itself will be in force, the resolution will be in force until the next board election.
Let's say April.
So which is April of 2021, right?
It'll come into effect in May.
Right. And that's simply because we don't want that parameter resolution or those parameters
Holding
to
the
tie the
board.
hands of another board. Right, so it's
Okay.
essentially, it's gonna have an expiration date of April 2021. unless you repeal it with a new resolution with a different amount at some point down the road.
Right, okay,
Good with that?
okay.
Okay.
All right, everybody good with that wording? All right,
You can probably say all in favor, say aye.
I guess I could. All in favor? Say aye. Aye. All right,
Okay, so we'll prepare the resolution targeting that minimum threshold of savings, and we'll have that ready for the next board meeting in February.
okay,
And at that point, again, we'll have, we'll see where the market's at, and she's going to give you an update as to here's where we think we're at right now. And if it's at 700, great, but if not, you know, again, we'll know where we're at that point. We'll just kind of put it into a holding pattern each month to see as we get closer. Again, the closer we get to the end of the year, all else equal, that 610 is going to continue to grow, 625, 630. So we'll
Right.
get there eventually.
Right.
All else equal.
right, okay.
Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
You guys have a good night.
Question before we go, please?
Yeah.
Sure.
Kevin,
Yep.
my name's Janet, Herscher newspaper. My question is this a total refinancing of these?
Of that part of the bonds.
Of the 2018 bond issue, yeah. 2018, I have to look at it, the C?
Yeah, CV.
Yeah,
Which is
2018.
supposed to come due in 2023.
A portion of it is.
Call.
Call.
That's the call feature.
Yeah.
That's the call feature. The bonds actually mature, I don't know the exact, I think in.
2032.
2032, I think.
2032 fiscal year, yeah, what year?
We have a chart if you want to see it afterwards.
That'd be okay.
You know, it
Let me
does,
see your chart, that's pretty easy.
You can have mine.
I don't know. Not sure about that, but,
No. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mom.
all right.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think the question is, we have a series of bonds that we've levied over the course of years, and so what they do is we pay a portion of each bond to keep the payment the same for our taxpayers. Does that make sense? So, like, we're paying more of one of the series of bonds, you know, and Kevin can probably explain that more in depth, but that's the gist of it.
It's an even amount.
For the taxpayer, it's an even amount.
Every time. You're not necessarily paying off equal amount every time you're paying.
We're not paying, we are, but we're paying like one series of bonds more so than the other series of bonds.
Yeah, you'll see in there's multiple series of bonds we have out.
You know, like when you levy, I think there's like 2018, 2020 or 16 or whatever it is.
That will help. I can take a gander. Thank you.
But we'll leave Kevin's card with you.
You'll be happy to explain everything.
He likes being called after midnight.
Refinancing the house. Could we have done these two to save? Well, if it would be
No, it's
No.
not enough to save. That's what he figured.
That's what
I asked about.
All right. We'll move on to next item on the agenda is personnel considerations. First action we have is for non-certified retirement notices. We have two of those. I'm just going to do those together. One is Sherry Parks, Secretary of Bond Field, grade school, effective June 30th, 2021. And Kathy Lake, Secretary of Limestone, Middle School, July 2nd, 2021. Do I have a motion to approve that retirement?
Second.
Any discussion? Jason?
Aye.
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 Aye. The board would like to give our thanks to both those individuals for all their hard work over the many years of service to the district. It's greatly appreciated and not missed over the years by the board. So appreciate that, their service. Next is a non-certified resignation. We have two of those. One is Crystal Pombert, Herscher High School Parapro, and Tammy Walters, route driver. Do I have a motion to approve those two non-cert resignations?
So moved.
Second.
Open for discussion. Joe?
Aye.
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 Aye. Next is non-certified hires. I'll do those each individually. First is Tricia Gergis, Herscher High School food service cashier. Do I have a motion to approve that hire?
So moved. Second.
Any discussion? Jackie?
Aye.
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 Aye. Second is Jamie Adams, also for the same position as the Herscher High School food service cashier. Do I have a motion to approve that hire?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Dave?
Aye.
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 Aye. Next is Jennifer Gray, LMS Parapro. Do I have a motion to approve that hire?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Laura?
Aye.
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 Aye. And the last one is Tanya Osinga, Bonfield Grade School lunchroom monitor. Do I have a motion to approve that hire?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Jason?
Aye.
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 Aye. Aye. Thank you. And last is extracurricular appointment. Do I have a motion to approve Jessica Brinkman for Herscher High School Creative Writing Club sponsor?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Joe?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right. All right, next on the agenda is a motion to amend the 2021 school year calendar. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Open it up for discussion. Dr. Deckman, want to just walk us through it?
This is in light of our, 11:45 and 2:05 dismissals, is we're basically removing the 2 early dismissal days or school improvement days that we have in the remainder of the calendar, and they will become regular days. And so I will amend the calendar if the board approves this.
Okay. Any discussion on that? All right. Jackie?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right. Need a motion to set Herscher High School graduation date and time as May 30th, 2021 at 2 p.m. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Open for discussion?
It's Sunday afternoon, right?
Yes.
Yep.
Unless you want to move it to Friday. Okay.
He tried that already.
Any
Yeah.
further discussion? All right. Dave?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right. Discussion and possible action regarding tentative 2021 calendar. Do we need that?
Yes. Did you put in the calendar that basically what I guess I need to explain. Basically what I did is I surveyed our entire employees and gave them 3 options to choose from for the calendar. And option, did you put the option that won the most votes? Okay, well, it's option 3.
It was option 3 on the presentation.
Okay, it's option 3 that was received the most votes. And I'll share it I don't know exactly, I can't remember exactly what the number of votes were, but option 3 won overwhelmingly, and or with approximately 50% of the votes, and the others were shared the other 50%. And so option 3 basically is very similar to this year's calendar, with a full 2 weeks off at Christmas and a start date of August 16th.
Yep.
And so I put the highlights there for you, and so that's what we're asking for approval. It does align with many of the school districts in the county, explicitly for spring break. And now a lot of districts are taking Thanksgiving week off. And so that was why you'll see in a couple of the options, Thanksgiving week was off, but that was not popular with enough folks in the district to be selected as the calendar of choice. So this is since I really don't care, to be honest, this is the option that was selected by the people. So is what I'm recommending.
So do we need a motion then to approve the schedule? Or like option 3?
Yeah, option 3 of the calendar as presented.
Make a motion to accept option 3.
Second.
All right, any additional discussion on that? So the motion is to approve option 3 of the 21-22 school calendar. Laura?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, next item is a motion to administratively transfer student A to RAC upon return if the individual returns to school. Need a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Jason?
Aye.
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 Aye. No other new business?
No.
Nothing additional? All right. 2 items in old business. First is a motion to approve the board policy manual that was presented in last month's board meeting. Need a motion for that?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Joe?
Aye.
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 Aye. And then the last item is discussion and a motion to approve the Herscher High School curriculum guide for the 2021 school year. Need a motion?
I make a motion to approve the curriculum guide minus double block algebra.
All right. Need a second?
Second.
Open that up for any discussion? All right.
I think the reasoning is just to see, collect some data over the course of this year, potentially next year, to see if it's worth keeping or not.
Right. Right, so we got an action for that, right? For you and
Mhm.
work through that? Okay. All right, any other discussion? Jackie?
Aye.
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 Aye. All right, anything, questions from the community? Nothing come in?
I have a question. Dr. Deppen, will this replace your fishing for rates?
No,
It will not?
no, that's a whole different concept. You're talking about like me buying other people's bonds. No, that's,
Since you're paying off,
Right.
you're still looking for buying others
To bring income in?
yep, they're two different things.
This company doesn't do both.
Yeah, yes, they do. They are basically what I am is in when we're buying other people's bonds, I'm a consumer, so I can shop around for a whole bunch of different companies. These guys will have bonds to sell too, so I will try to bid on those as well, and with whatever money we have that's liquid. And so that they'll just bring more opportunities for bonds for us to potentially purchase. But I could use several different bond companies. This would just be another one, and they can do that as well. And we've talked about that.
All right. We don't have any other reason to go in executive session. All right, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.